Hey, Jack. Looks cold up there with Jack. He's got his hat on. He's huddled up there today. Kind of cold.
All righty.
And Dan, hello, Dan. Nice to see you. Hello. Where are you coming from, Dan?
Honolulu. Aloha. Thank you for welcoming me.
Oh,
Aloha. Wonderful.
Of course, Mr. K, our longtime regular.
How you doing, Gregory? Wonderful to see you. Amen. And who's this? Aiden Hakia. Where are you from, Aiden? Wait, you look familiar. We know you. Put your mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, hi guys. How are you?
Hey.
We met at actually in England, if you remember.
Yes, okay.
At the expo, at the hydroponic expo. So hi guys, nice to be here.
I do remember meeting you, Aiden. It's nice to see you. Yay, great.
Yeah.
And I hear things are getting a little better in England, huh? They opening up a little?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Also over here in Israel, it's kind of progressing. We are getting forward to full legalization.
Good.
And hopefully it will happen someday soon.
That's great. And I know that you're doing research in Israel. That's what's so important. You're able to do all that research.
Yeah. Research is kind of good over here. It's happening. So yeah, this is our power. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Exactly.
And Vincent Edmondson.
Vincent's back. Yay. Hello, Vincent.
Yeah.
And Mike McCarty. We haven't seen you since the salons. You're on mute there, Mike. You actually there?
That would have been about.
I'm live.
There you
yes,
are.
Right.
It's been a long time since we've seen you, Mike. Great to see you.
I know. Yeah. Gosh, that was way back in 2015 when I first met you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Back when we were still kind of in the gray market, as they called it back then. Life was a little easier, but it was different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
And Qatar is somebody I just met online this week, actually. So I don't know if they're there. I just see their names, but hello.
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Nice to hear your voice.
Thank you. I'd like to be here too.
Good. Glad to see that. Good. Well, we're going to have some fun today. Oh, see, we got a couple of people in the waiting room. We're going to be talking about the old days today. A lot of old days stuff, which should be fun. It always is. The old days, even though the good days are right now too. In a few years, we're going to say these are the good old days. So it's always the good old days, right?
Stephen Shub. All right.
Yeah.
So we're still waiting for lady.
Yeah, and we're going to get to hear some music too, right, Jack? We're going to just kind of be putting that in there.
Hi, Steve. How you
Steven.
doing? Welcome back.
Hey, Ed. There you are, Ed.
Oh,
How
Ed's
you doing?
masking it up today. Okay.
He's got his mask. So we're going in for our first vaccine tomorrow morning. Here we go.
All right.
Yep. And that means that hopefully soon we can get out there and see some of you people in person. That'll be different.
I'm getting my second shot next week, a week from today.
Excellent.
I'm going to feel so much better.
Great. And how much time is there between, Mike? Is it 3 weeks? Or something?
Yeah, it was 4 weeks.
4 weeks, that long.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got my first shot at Stanford February 4th and getting the second one on March 4th. Yep.
Okay.
It depends on which shot you get. So you're probably got Moderna. That's 4 weeks. I got Pfizer. That's 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, I'm on Moderna. Yep.
Okay, that's good to know.
I got Jack Daniels.
You got Jack Daniels?
Yeah,
Okay.
That'll kill anything. That's good. That'll get
Well,
those
now that
germs.
you mention it, when I was many years ago, when I was still drinking alcohol, many years ago, Jack Daniels is definitely my favorite of all the whiskeys and so on. So, and of course, then there was also the Jack Daniels Green Label, which was aged even more. That was really sweet stuff. So, anyway, I'm off of that though, off the drink. But what I do these days, if someone has a really nice bottle of really nice booze, I'll just sniff it. I'll huff it. And it's like, it's the sweetest smell. And I get kind of high off of that too, you know, without having to process the real alcohol, right? So it's like I'm taking the terpenes in, you know, we can get terpenes anywhere.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah, we've been judging for the Emerald Cup quite a bit lately, which
When,
is
when you
takes a
get
lot
to
of
come
skill.
down from that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Usually
hard
about-
work.
Yeah. Well, we usually come down about 2 weeks after the end of the cup judging and so on. It's kind of right. It's hard to get any real work done, but now, of course, we got to really work hard because we're still in the startup stage of our business. So it doesn't let up at all, but we're staying stoned. That's the good part.
How long does it take between varietals for you to get normalized so you can figure out which one is which?
Well, we can usually do like we kind of do about 3 in a sitting usually. So
Yeah.
we'll take like an hour and a half and do one and kind of hang out with it for about 10, 15 minutes and then
Yeah.
go on to the next one. And you can kind of, you know, people say, how do you do that? Doesn't it just all overlap? But
No, you learn.
you learn. And if it's really good, it's going to break through any fog that
Yeah.
you may
That's
have.
right.
So
That's right.
because
then you know.
before we
Yeah.
smoke it, we go through 3 levels of analysis and evaluation. The first thing, of course, we look at is just like when you're going to buy, say you're going to buy a pound, right? So the first thing you'll do is, what does it look like, right? Is it a scraggly trim? You'll take a look at, okay, what's the trim like? And then you say, well, how well is it cured? Is it too dry? Is it too sticky? Isn't it dried enough, right? And then, you know, all these little like physical visual things, I'll take like a 60x microscope and I'll look at the trichomes and look if there's amber ones and clear ones and so on. And just really take a look at it and see what the overall bud shape is and so on. And then we'll give it a score of 1 to 10 on that, just the basis of the look. And that'll take anywhere from 10 minutes or so just to look at it and really just give it all its, you know, give it all your love, so to speak. And then, so then the next thing we do is we
Hi,
check.
James.
Hi, James. We check on the aroma. And of course, the aroma is in some ways one of the first things too, because when you open, we get a little film can with a gram for our testing. And so when you open the little can, you get this like instant terpene hit. So that's the first thing. And then you take it out and you kind of break it apart and then you smell it again. And then you grind it up and then you smell it again. And the whole time you're kind of riffing on, well, what's it taste like? What's it smell like? And you kind of want to say the first thing that comes into your head, you know, because that triggers some sort of emotional response. You know, your sense of smell is so private and so personal and so connected to your past experience. So we always try and pull out something where did I smell that smell before? Was it somewhere in Hong Kong? Was it up in the mountains? Was it in the pine forest? Was it cardamom?
Or was it the last joint?
Yeah.
Right.
So then that takes, you know, could be like 15 minutes or so, just evaluating those things. Then I grind it up and roll it up. And I'm also reassessing when I roll it, what's the cure like, right? Is it too dry or wet or so on? And then then we smoke it and we have to adjust, well, what's the taste of this? What's it really taste like, right? And what we try is, does the taste kind of also reflect the smell, right? So, and then finally, we're actually trying to, well, what are the effects? What do I feel? Do I feel it in my body, in my shoulders? You know, is it clear in my head? Or is it a giggly pop, you know? Or is it just sort of, we sit there and everybody starts reading or something. So you try and judge the effects. And so it takes a while between.
It's kind of fun this year because now that I don't really smoke
Right,
joints
I was gonna
anymore.
ask.
Yeah, so I have my volcano set up, but I don't necessarily judge every one. I kind of wait and just do the really good ones. I admit it.
See, let's
And,
read to the swag.
But what I do is I'm able to sit there and watch and see. I can judge how high Swami is by looking at him and how he acts. So half the time it's like for the effects,
No,
I'm
I'm
able,
always the same.
no
That's
way.
not true.
I'm able to tell him
No.
how stoned he is. Like, you look really high after this one,
Right.
you know?
And I'm saying, I'm so high, I don't even feel it, right? It's like, you know, sometimes you get those really high mental joints or something like that, and you're really, really super stoned, but it's so clear headed and so like sparkling that you sort of don't have that heavy like couch lock thing. So you don't really think you're high, but you're already in the next dimension.
Yeah. Yeah. That was number 45.
That was number
I
40.
think, yeah.
No, the one we had was 06. See, this year the cup is different because
She's
we're
like,
judging
which
also
one of
mixed
those was
light
it?
as a separate category. Mixed light as a separate category, and also we're judging indoor for the very first time
Yeah.
as a separate category. So we're gonna get super ripped.
It's a trip, yeah. And they're all divided up by terpenes this year. So yeah, it's a very different process this year. Not to mention the fact we're only having 2 in-person meetings, and otherwise the judges are meeting by Zoom. So that's very different. Very,
So
very
what's
Yeah,
the
we used to share-
rationale for adding indoor grown to the Emerald Cup, which always celebrated outdoor stuff?
Good question, Mike. I think the rationale is that we're looking at
Money.
the whole state, and the state is, a lot of people grow indoor now. So we kind of just wanted to include that. I think another thing is, curiously, I think part of it has to do with maybe the fires, that the fact that a lot of people lost crops to
Yeah,
the
that's-
fires. And so they're thinking, well,
So
we
they
should
needed
start
more.
considering indoor too, because that's not going to be affected by the fires. And I think Tim Blake, the producer, basically really decided that it was time to include it. There are not very many samples, surprisingly. There's only a few.
No, there's like 100.
No, indoor 48 or something.
Indoor 48.
51,
Okay.
51.
Well, see,
Yeah.
the other thing is that most people in Los Angeles and Southern California, they're mostly smoking indoor.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, we wanted to bring outdoor down to the South, but the way to do that is to appreciate what they already smoke. So we're going and looking at indoor as a whole other category, because actually, as you know, most of the states actually, that other than California and Oregon and Washington, they all require indoor growing, and they don't
Right.
even let
I
you
didn't know
grow
that.
outdoor. So
Yeah.
state by state, it's different, but most of the East Coast states, you've got to grow indoor. Now, doesn't mean that somebody's putting it in their backyard out there, but legal growers. So at a certain point, it just became, okay, we really do have to include this, because so many people are using that form of cannabis,
Yeah.
right? And it brings us down into Southern California, and we get to sort of, now there's a whole bunch of judges on the judges
Yeah.
panel who are from Southern California, and like
Oh.
some of them never smoked outdoor, right? And I'm saying, well, I almost never smoke indoor. So here we are. It's like, it's time to cross-reference and meet people and just exchange and be part of the bigger thing. And what Nikki said is also right. We need to know, hey, if you're going to grow on the moon, you're probably going to be growing indoors.
They have electricity?
Right. But you got solar panels up there. But also if there could be fire season, and at a certain point you have to be, so it's broadening it out. That's
And
for
then
sure.
at the end, this is going to be very curious. At the end, they want us to do a smoke off between the different categories. So just to be honest, I'm really hoping indoor doesn't win, but that would be rather embarrassing after all these years, but I doubt it will, but we'll see. We're going to do, so there'll be a challenge between, indoor, mixed light, sun grown.
Well, it's only going to be the winner of each
Yeah,
category, I
right.
think. Just the winner of each category. There's indoor, mixed light, and sun grown. And then there's also a personal category.
Right,
So it'll be interesting to see.
exactly.
What do you guys
Okay,
think
good.
some of the differences might be?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the indoor temp often has a higher THC, but that's not usually what wins the cup. So
flavor,
that's usually
flavor.
what happens there.
Flavor.
And flavor,
Yeah.
smell, looks. I mean, on looks, the mixed light and the indoor usually have more bling than the outdoor. But Bling isn't everything.
We have to welcome our guests, Nikki.
We do,
Yeah,
Gary,
Gary
and Lisa.
and Lisa. Hello, wave to everybody. You have to take your mood.
Unmute
You're
yourself.
mute. You're on mute. So unmute
Unmute
yourself
yourselves.
at the bottom of the screen.
There you go. Gary's gonna get that. Oh, Lisa, unmute yourself.
Unmute at the bottom of your screen on the left side.
We can't hear you.
Unmute.
Or wait, maybe I can do it for her. Let me see.
Really?
Here we go. Yes.
There you go.
Oh, there.
There you
Oh,
go.
wait, did I just,
Now you muted yourself
wait, I
back.
just
So
did it.
what happened?
No, I just did it. I think.
You did?
No.
Hit the space bar.
There we go.
Okay, you're good.
All
I
right.
think we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. You did. You missed the dogs barking.
Is that why?
Great.
Oh my God. And you just have to everybody know when these say people say dogs barking, they're
Yeah.
talking about a lot of dogs.
Oh, yeah.
How many dogs do you have these days, guys?
Nothing dogs.
We're down to 6.
We're
We
down- we
just
just-
lost Shake.
You hear that? Down to 6.
Only 6. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a great dog light number for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, we're so happy to introduce you guys to everybody. You know, Gary and Lisa here, are dear old friends. And
Well, they lived for many years up in Mendocino County, and that's how we got to know them. We connected through Tim Blake.
we
right?
actually connected through trans
Oh,
parties.
that's true. We did connect
Yeah.
through trans parties first. Right.
Jonathan
And then
Frank-
through Tim Blake. And then they just recently
Yeah.
moved to Tennessee because Gary's a great musician and he needed to be back to the Source Energy with a lot of other supporting musicians. So we're going to find out what's happening here. And
Oh, and welcome to April and Jen. So good to see you guys.
okay.
Yay.
Do you have
Yay.
any questions?
So anyway, welcome. And it's just about almost 4:20. You're right on time. Time to light up for
Oh, yeah,
everybody.
if you have them,
You want to open the door?
You have
it's,
it already.
Cheers, cheers.
Okay. Yes. I see some of you are getting started already. That's good.
well, 420
right.
is relative, actually,
Yay.
for sure. So,
So yeah, so Gary and Lisa are very special people in our community here in the little town of Laytonville in Mendocino County for many years, and moved back to Tennessee. What is it, about a year and a half ago?
almost 2.5 years, actually. It's been a
Oh,
minute.
geez.
Hey, I'm lighting ceremonial incense, and we just lit our fire because I'm trying
okay,
Okay.
good.
to save my lungs these days. I've been doing my edible.
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you, Lisa.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that
We're
one.
gonna bless.
I
the-
know.
We're gonna
We
bless the
bless you.
computer. We're gonna bless you.
Hashtag
May,
blessed.
may our internet hold up through this experience.
Yes.
Very sweet. Very sweet. So actually, that kind of reminds me of one of the reasons how I got to know Lisa so well is through the altars and the statues. And because there's a little thing I do on the side, along with cannabis, is I've got what's called an icon addiction. I admit it. I totally admit it. I've got an icon addiction, which means that I have collected statues from all over the world for many years. And they go from being this big to being over 1 ton. And I have to say, Lisa got the bug. She got the bug from me too.
Mhm.
So we both have big collections of statues. And, you know, I really feel that having them around makes a difference in the cannabis crop. It actually puts a different vibe on where you're growing. So all of you people that are out there doing your own home grows, just put a statue in the garden, put a statue in your grow room, you know,
Green
you know,
tart.
honor it.
Get your Durga out in the garden.
Yeah, get your Durga on. Exactly. That's a good one for sure.
Are you
And then
digging?
Gary, what's that?
Digging with Durga.
Digging with Durga. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. So yeah, so Gary's an incredible musician. We're so happy to have him here. These two are quite a pair between them. And Gary is just an amazing musician, and now he's living right near Nashville. So we're
Yeah.
in the heart of it.
What, Emerald Triangle to Mojo Triangle.
Yeah. We're in the heart of the Mojo Triangle. It's like right. We're literally positioned like between country music over there, and we got the blues and R&B and rock and roll over in Memphis over there, and then down south we got
Right.
all soul music down there in Alabama.
And we
That
got
must have
Johnny
shown.
has Greta Lynn's place just up the road. So we're on
Yeah.
the Legends
The
Trail.
highway.
Yeah.
We're on the highway of legends right here. So.
So we're right
Oh,
where
wow.
we belong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so amazing.
So, and you're just going to release an album right now pretty soon, something like that? What's happening with that?
Well, what's happening is I just released a single that I made with the reggae legend Junior Reed. And so he was in Black and
Fantastic.
Blue,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's still an exciting, vibrant, artist. And he did a collaboration with me called World Upside Down, and it's a really interesting fusion of cultures and music. It's kind of a rock and roll country thing that from my side, and he's bringing his reggae flavor. But it's a very heavy. It's an interesting, single in that it's about like where we find ourselves now in the world and the state of the world, and it feels like there's a great upheaval.
It's truth telling to the moment in time that we're all experiencing right now.
Right.
With,
Nice.
just
Nice.
everything. I mean, honestly, like Gary wrote that song, and 2 days later, y'all were like daytime red. You know what I mean?
The fires in
The fires
Mendocino,
turned your
yeah.
day into night. Like he
Yeah.
wrote that song 2 days before those fires kicked up like that, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Day is night,
But
up
he's-
is down.
He's
Yeah.
got a couple albums that are on the tarmac right now, we'll say, but the one that we're all gonna sit around and talk about is the Marijuana Murder Ballads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, he kind of blew everybody away last night with this new song called 100 Pounds of Freedom. And I'll let you talk.
But I think we're going to do pretty well. I'm feeling good about this. All right. Okay. I was working in a diner on the edge of town. He came in off the road. He wanted his Huevos Christmas style. People like to talk. We went on for a while. 24 hours of work for a $5,000 fee. Drive an old van into Albuquerque. Park it and leave the key. He's driving 100 pounds to freedom. He's got 100 pounds of solid gold. White was the color of snow. Brown was the color of mud. Green was the color of cash. Red was the color of blood. I poured his tourist bottles, winked and said salute. Laid on the charm as I brushed his arm. He blushed as he ate his food. Left me with a lousy tip and the key to his room. Fifth from no friend of town and a bus to catch again. He'd love to see me soon. He's driving 100 pounds of freedom. He's got 100 pounds of solid gold. White was the color of snow. Brown was the color of mud. Green was the color of cash. Red was the color of blood. I closed up just past midnight. I lived right across the street. I fed my fish and I grabbed the bat I bought to keep the peace. The driver was indecent, asleep with the TV on. The keys were on the table, the van was in the lot. I'm never coming back. I've got 100 pounds of freedom. I've got 100 pounds of solid gold. White was the color of snow, brown was the color of mud, green was the color of cash, red was the color of blood. And I've been 100 pounds of freedom. Got 100 pounds of solid Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, actually, the guitarist in the band, which I literally put together last week, and they're an amazing band. Evan Donahue texted me some lyrics a couple days ago, and it was just basically a kind of a short story about a man pulling up in a Albuquerque diner with a van full of contraband, and he's being paid $5,000 to leave the key, park it and leave the key. And unfortunately, he goes into the diner and starts talking to the waitress. And in the song, I'm the waitress. So I'm telling the story from her perspective. He spills the beans. She goes over to his hotel, grabs keys, and drives down the road with 100 pounds of freedom in her van. And so
Pretty
that's
good,
the little
right?
song. So that's
It's
kind
got
of
those soaring,
it's-
tasty
yeah,
harmonies.
it's
and
consistent with with this Marijuana Murders Ballads album, which is so inspired by obviously Lisa and I's many years in Mendocino County and hearing all the tales, of
The radio.
various nefarious things that went on there. And so it's sort of it's an album that will be, I guess it will touch on the darker essence of it, of life in Mendocino County, but there's a long tradition in American music of singing murder ballads, which is, shows the darker side of life, and how we relate to each other. So I think it's great. It has a bunch of songs with true tales.
Yeah, so we're not like glorifying murder. We're
No,
just
certainly
glorifying the
not.
old ways
No,
of
certainly not.
storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, every
Murder Mountain kind of put the kibosh on the.
But there's
whole
a
title.
long tradition in our folk idiom of singing tales like that.
Yes.
So
No, for
it's
sure. So they're
consistent.
ballads. It's really ballads, right? This is what you call ballads. So
I'm really
what-
very much against murder, I
Yeah.
must say.
glad to hear that, Gary.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
I'm
what do the
totally
people?
against it. Yeah.
What are the rules like in Tennessee for cannabis?
Oh, well, hemp is fine, but they're not. I do know that background productions have been going on for a couple of years now. There's people that already have contracts with pharmaceutical companies that are supplying cannabis grows, but it's like big money to jump into play. And we grew a couple crops of hemp here, and it's so moist.
It's a bit of a struggle because the environment is so much different than we're used to. And so the state that we were working with, that we were familiar with, couldn't quite cut it when it got really humid and it wouldn't cool off at night. So they started developing like black spot molds and that sort of thing. So it's one of those things that will require further research.
Yep, and that's what we told the nice man at the ag department.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we kind of got rid of that. Sorry.
We're like, we fed that to the cows.
Do you know how much a license is to grow hemp in the state of Tennessee? Guess how much do you think it costs? $250.
$25 or something.
$250, and they give you a little Xerox sheet of paper, and that's it. It's a lot in California.
Oh, and they
Oh my
call you if they're
God.
coming out. They give you 3 weeks ahead of time, you know,
Right.
to come
Yeah,
out and look at
they're
your
like,
stuff.
yeah, we're gonna come by and check and see if what you're really growing is hemp, basically. But they give you a heads up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Well-
so Lisa was and Gary were quite growers out here in Mendocino for a while. And one of the reasons,
Pretty humble.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right, but yeah, small, humble. But one of the great things that you always had was, of course, the compost or the fertilizer from all those animals,
Compost.
because
What
these guys
was
are really into animals. You know,
Yeah,
they
we-
might have 6 dogs, but we're not counting all the sheeps and the goats and the rabbits and the
Horses.
cows and the
Well,
horses
yeah.
and everything else.
We used to get our manure from them, and they had this huge pile of manure that just kept growing and growing. Because what do you had, like how many horses? 4 horses, a mule. What did all the animals you had out there?
Well, we had about four horses, a couple of donkeys, and then
Yeah.
some minis.
We have more now.
I have 10 horses now.
Yeah, we got 10 horses. So
we
our-
doubled in
We
Our
land.
got
pile is getting bigger
Our
and
pile
bigger.
is getting
But that
bigger.
is some solid black
Ah.
gold.
Oh,
Really is.
Well,
and
can
I-
you send us some of that good manure? Can you? A whole trainload of it we need
Yeah,
up here.
right.
We'll
Well,
make
that's
it.
not exactly regenerative local, Swami. And it's not local anymore.
There's been people over here that are eyeing our good shit for sure. We're like teaming up with some top chefs in the area that we know through our little like outlaw country folks that have been
Mhm.
turning us on.
Mhm.
There's this guy Sean Brock in town that owns Husk and stuff, and he's got a lot of irons in the fires and restaurants. So we're gonna
Yeah,
team up with them and start producing a lot of food. And we just planted an orchard and
Yeah.
we got our bees and stuff. But we do a touch of everything. Like we rescue animals. You know, I've become the person where the pop stars call me and go, "Hey, Justin Timberlake's horse really needs a home. Could you like take him?" And I'm like, "Sure, let me rescue that horse before he gets completely ruined."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
so
got
wonderful.
Charlie went from pop
That's-
star to rock star.
Yeah. Wild Mustang that was adopted by Justin Timberlake and was running around in the Hollywood Hills and then kind of got dumped here in Tennessee. So we're taking care of him. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
celebrity rescue. That's great. That's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
We've rescued many animals from celebrities.
We have.
But celebrities are dangerous.
But now I'm getting into bunnies. I got these like pedigree rabbits. I met this eccentric
Mhm.
bunny breeder who's also going to come over here and kick our butt in farm boot camp. We're going to do some like farm boot camp workouts over here.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
good. Well,
Yeah.
actually, Lisa was part of what we used to call Ganja Boot Camp.
Right.
She
Point.
did the entire program. That was back in the around 2000 or something.
In
I
the
wanna
90s,
say.
not 2000. early
Yeah.
2000.
And that was with Tim Blake, who's also known as the producer of the Emerald Cup. And Tim put people to work. Let's just say he cracked the whip, and that was Ganja Boot Camp.
Well,
and,
some of you have to imagine the way it is up in those days, 30 years ago in the mountains, because you couldn't really be seen to be growing very well. And they would fly over. They didn't have satellite or anything like that, but they would fly over and so on. So you would grow under the bushes, under the manzanita bushes and under the trees and so on. So hopefully the foliage would blend in. So you're literally crawling on hands and knees under these bushes with a 60-pound bag of potting soil on your back, crawling in, and you got to hide the irrigation lines. I mean, it wasn't easy. What's that, Gary?
I worked alongside those dudes and showed their asses up because I used to work with the big.
well,
and
you
I-
did, but Lisa's got a background in the circus. You want to talk about that, Lisa? Tell us about your background in the circus.
I just learned how to kick ass in stressful situations, really, because like.
Well, you were at the
But
Big
I-
Apple Circus.
But I was with the Big Apple Circus and I helped train the horses and stuff. And it was a really, like living on the mountain, there was a lot of learning experiences that were, that I took later with me along down the road and applied them to other things, circus people are tough and resilient and can kind of deal under very, stressful situations.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Well, certainly you needed that to grow.
When you hear helicopters back in the days were not fun. And then you're like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
just poison oak on my hoo-hoo. But yeah, those were the good old days, the good old
As they
days.
say.
What are you gonna say, Gary?
Oh, I was just saying, I was just chiming, just agreeing that those were the good old days.
Yeah, right. But she mentioned the helicopters, and you've probably seen those for a couple of movies about Vietnam and the whole helicopter thing and how it created such fear and paranoia in any of the Vietnamese on the ground that this helicopter was coming in. It was like it was an outer space demon that was just going to destroy everything, right? Well, we had that same feeling up here in the mountains that they were coming in and they were gonna tear it down.
To this day, whenever I hear a helicopter, I have an instant reaction.
They've been flying around day to day.
And then what you start doing is the Mendo, where you start IDing it, right? So you're like, oh, it's a Huey, so it could only be Cal Fire, right? So you're good.
Right.
It's a Huey, and you can hear what the Huey sounds like. So you can hear what the specific different helicopters sound like. So you know when you're cool or you're not. And when you see like a one that's all black with blue and it's kind of looks like a little like Darth Vader's spaceship, then you're like, oh, that might be some trouble right there.
Yeah.
So
right.
You want to get flown.
No,
exactly. No, I mean, it's different. We don't have to hide from helicopters anymore, but we have another stuff. I mean, the rules and regulations are just as hard to deal with, I think, sometimes.
I mean, that's back mental breaking, I feel like, I mean, that's all with the fires and just well, our land was very limited where we lived in Laytonville, like for sun and water, which a lot of you struggle with trying to have enough of too, I'm sure at this point. Maybe not sun, but water. And
too much sun, not enough water.
Yeah. And so, we were limited and also we were ready to like just get going on other stuff, like
personally, we were moving on with our lives.
Yeah.
I'd say the legalization thing was a big factor in us kind of realizing like, they're not going to make this easy up here. They're not going to make it, because what it is it's the difference. In the old days, when they're just showing up and taking your crop, that's one thing. Now they're showing up and they're taking an entire industry, an entire culture, and they're taking it for themselves.
Yeah.
And they're saying, thanks for inventing this. Now we're going to take this away from you. And in fact, we're going to drive you out of business. And this is now for us and our buddies and da-da-da-da. And so the big corporate takeover is not cool. That's how I view it personally.
Yeah. And so that's actually so true about, speaking as an old hippie here, a lot of the stuff that we started and everyone, said wasn't so good in the beginning and now they've taken it over. I mean, from health food stores.
Organic farming, it was started out with mom and pop, but it became a corporate thing and so on. So, but there's some of us. Yeah.
You take something good and you at first you criticize it and you say it's a bunch of dirty hippies doing it, and then 10 years later, you've driven they
hijacked the hippies.
You've driven the old health food store out of business, and there's a Whole Foods, and and that's the nature of modern life, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's modern capitalism in America. That's for sure. Yeah. It's hard. We're going to survive though, everybody. Don't worry. We're going to be here. We're going to be, and we're going to give you those purest, most special products. So we're fighting. Well, we're not fighting. We're just kind of cruising along and keep on elevating on us. It's kind of a slow on ramp, so to speak, and we're still cruising up. So,
but I'm really interested in some of the murder stories for these songs.
Yeah. So we just let the dog back in. There'll be probably another dog explosion when the pizza's but the song. So Down by the Greenhouse, the song that
opens the new
The voice is coming from your coffin.
What's that? The voice is coming from your coffin. Oh Lord. Well, maybe the dirt's talking. Gary brought his guitar over.
I got my guitar here.
Okay.
Okay. Before you start, could everyone else go on mute? Everyone who's not on mute, make sure you're muted so we don't get feedback and you'll hear the sound better. So if you're not on mute, please do that. Thank you. And then later on, we'll come back and we can have some questions. But Gary's going to play us. What's the name of the song, Gary?
Well, this is called Down by the Greenhouse. And it's based on a story of an actual, you know, this is sort of, I don't want to say it's typical of Mendocino.
Well, we heard that there was somebody found in a greenhouse up on Spy Rock.
Right. And what, you know, it was I think it was a classic example of somebody had an argument over something involving the business, the crop.
Who's getting what?
Yeah, who's getting what, and you know how that goes. And one guy took it out on the other guy and buried him in the compost heap. So,
but that was
I bet that made good compost. What do you think?
Nikki, Jesus.
Remember? Do you remember, Nikki? They used to say that the first year I was up there. The best dirt for next year's crop is last season's ripoff.
Yeah, so there's a line. Yeah, there's a line in the song that's along that concept, you know. And if you listen to the tune, you'll hear it. And
okay, maybe I'll play that one for you because it's not a long one.
Yeah,
and then he also has some pre-recorded stuff we might try.
We might try and put some pre-recorded stuff, but at this point, I'm not sure how confident I feel about that.
We'll see.
It's Down by the Greenhouse. Down by the greenhouse, I buried my friend. He was talking so crazy right to the end. Said that he wanted more than his share. It was the end of the season, so I left him there. Down by the greenhouse, I'll show you where. If I give you his body, won't you be fair? It's down in the compost, close to the earth. It's this season's argument, this next season's dirt.
Yeah.
So what's that? The next season's argument is next season's dirt.
Great line. That is a great line. Really. I mean, it's not, I want everyone to know it's not like this was a regular everyday happening up here in Mendocino in the old days, but it did happen. And it was usually, you know, when a bunch of guys that didn't know each other all that well would get together and decide they're going to do a kick-ass big grow and everybody's going to get so much. And then if it comes down to it, not everyone's getting so much. And some people want more than others. And sometimes there's a bad apple or two in the bunch, you know, just like any business, I guess. But
well, I think
it did happen.
These stories have they have weight because they're kind of like Americana in a way. It's like how we tell stories of the Wild West, you know, or bandits, or it's American folklore.
Well, like how the Grateful Dead said about Casey Jones and stuff like that.
It's part of kind of a folkloric tradition, and so you blow up things like, I mean, Black Bart?
Black Bart and Willits.
Black Bart was in Willits. So,
rock.
I mean, the thing about people don't really realize about Mendocino is that it's outlaw, and it's a long tradition of outlaw there because it's the Wild West.
And
it really is.
Yeah. And like we got the moonshine people.
Yeah, that's a different
Everybody's fixing.
And actually up there on Spy Rock, where you've been talking about, Spy Rock, just so people know, is it's a road that comes off of Highway 101 up here in Mendocino
and
County.
We see it from where we're sitting right now. I can see Spy Rock.
And Spy Rock it's a tough neighborhood, and it always has been, I think. And it's kind of got an edge to it up there. And they call it Spy Rock because back when the outlaws, like from the old days, like we're talking, gold rush,
Stagecoach
the old days,
robbers.
they would go up there, 'cause they could look out over the whole valley below and see when the cops were coming or whatever.
No, the sheriff and the posse with mounted horses would raid a dust storm that you could see in the distance. I mean, we're talking movies here, folks, right? So but anyway, I want to thank you, Gary and Lisa, for that's our part of our culture, and to preserve that in song is like what you're saying. That's the essence of American folklore. And so, keep writing those songs, man, because you could write about some of the really positive things that happened too, I know, but you're on a theme here, and I think the theme is important as well. And before this culture totally disappears, the more songs that come out, because we had to be hidden for so long.
He's coined that county. Okay, like he's a truth teller, storyteller.
Well, I've got songs like I like to sing about the positive things, but with the edge, like I have a song called Eel River Blues. So it's about the beauty there, but also like the potential tragedy there of like it being drying up, and I just sing about
the
like
battles
various,
of people sucking the water out of the rivers,
various things that happen,
Legalization Blues is another song on the up and coming album that's really good, and it really kind of lays out what we all went through. It's a good theme song if we ever have a show, like a real show.
Yeah, it's kind of like sitcom theme. Great.
Yeah.
But other people have written songs about like Trimmer Girl and stuff like that. That whole culture of like harvest time is different up here, because all summer long, it's usually, in the old days, it was all guys with their shirts off and doing a lot of work.
Except for Lisa.
And then,
I was
and also,
always a panty farmer.
Yeah.
It got too hot and it was panties,
but then in harvest time, there'd be all the women would come in harvest time. And then all of this romance of these frustrated guys, and the romance would happen, right? And so it's like Trimmer Girl, and all that sort of stuff that goes down. And then
there's so many stories from the old days, folks, that people just aren't even aware of. I mean, and this is talking about the really old days. Just things went down, and we're lucky to have seen a lot of that, and also to have come around the bend from it as well.
I lived through it.
But I really appreciate this, Gary, that you're showing this through the music. I think that's a great way to tell the stories and really keep it alive.
I think people are interested
They're
in
definitely very
real
interested
life.
out
In real
here.
life, people are interested in real life, and this is a fascinating thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's fun to see.
And just to know that cannabis isn't all grown in a totally sterile environment of a greenhouse somewhere where security guards are roaming outside. I mean, this is the old days, and it's where it started, and we will be in history books, and it'll be just like the gold rush guys.
I view it in the same way. It's like if I was singing about just how hard it is to be a farmer like 300 years ago somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, because at the end of the day, what it is, it's not sterile. You're right. It's agriculture, and that people get their hands dirty. And
that's
and
right.
Well,
and that's
you see
how
all these pictures of the indoor grows, and the people are all wearing white clothes, and it's all that thing. But here everybody was in camo, or they were half naked.
What are you making? Semiconductors?
Don't
in a
be the
clean
Swami
space?
calling the Swami white, or how's that go?
I
Don't
don't
be
know.
the pot calling the kettle Swami.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Listen, I have a question for you guys. We usually like to ask our guests, when was the first time you got high, and where, and who did it, and how did that all go down? So that's kind of like also cultural history.
Yeah.
The first time I got high, I remember it came out of a spice jar my friend had up the street. And he literally was like, I think it's weed, but maybe it's oregano. So we didn't really remember anything happening.
Yeah.
But so that's not really the first time I got high. But I remember
The first
like,
time you tried to
I
get
tried
high,
to get high,
and I had
yeah.
one of those experiences when you were like 10 or 9, and friends like, hey, let's smoke this pot, and I just
10 or 9. I was 12 or something.
Well, I'm saying the first time I tried to get high, it didn't work.
Gary's parents are a little bit more hippie.
No, well, check it out. Here's the first time I got high, which is oddly enough, I probably took LSD before I even smoked pot. Is that weird?
Really?
Am I weird?
Really? That's unusual. Wow.
It is unusual.
Yeah.
Because so I've been high on LSD, so I understood psychedelics and all that stuff. But I just remember like being in North Carolina in a snowstorm, walking around with some friends and just walking in the snow. And that was the first time I smoked pot. And I was like, I think I was like made up a game show in my head or something that I thought was pretty funny. That's about all I remember.
I remember, if this counts, I remember the first time I smoked kind bud.
Real.
And like real kind bud after I hitchhiked across country, like following the Grateful Dead, ended up in Berkeley, went to a Primus show, got ripped off for the tickets, but scored some elastic and thunderfuck that was in a little baggie from somebody down on Market Street. And I remember smoking it, and like I think we took mushrooms or something too. Yeah. And that damn bud turned into a green tarantula, and I was like, "Whoa, what is in this?" I was like, "I've never seen it so hairy. Why is it so hairy?"
Thunderfuck, girl.
So that was my first real turn on with the herb. Yeah. For sure.
So is the growing like whatever, even if you're growing your vegetables, your hemp, whatever you're growing, are you using regenerative techniques back there?
Definitely. Yeah, we've been closed loop regenerative farmers for quite a few years
Over
now.
a decade.
Yeah.
And it really grew out of like the animals.
The
animals are the beginning of the whole thing, really, for us. Because once we realized we were making this wonderful organic soil, because even the stuff we put into our animals is organic, right? So it's not like the animals are eating a bunch of like corporate crap and then pooping out chemicals.
Grade hay.
So that's the beginning for us. And then it's all based on that. And then once you start, you're able to grow your own food and other materials out of that. You take that and you feed it back to the animals. And it's just, and then nothing's coming in or out of off of your farm, hopefully.
Well, and I hated, if I can interject this.
Please.
Well, the first season that I worked with Tim and everybody up on the hill, I was really, like, I know I said it a few times, but I took note that I was bummed out at the amount of plastic that was getting tossed everywhere. Like that.
Right. Really, it wasn't the right spirit.
No, I didn't like that. And that season that kicked all of our asses and like, kind of made us all step back a little bit like, whoa, okay. Maybe I should orbit up here, but in my own orbit.
Right.
I learned a lot of how not to do it because just because of my core beliefs that I was kind of recognizing was like, here we are in this beautiful place and we're kind of like doing really bad stuff with all this plastic piping and then like the rat poisons and stuff like that. I just really taught me on how
soil and plastic bags.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to do it like this. There's got to be a different way. So on a micro level, when I moved down to Willits in that little side house temple that my friend said the other day, she's like, I feel your guys' love and I feel like you left me the guru house. I was like, oh yeah, we did.
Anyway,
I just started practicing and learning through my own techniques that I took the good from some of those situations and became a better steward of the land and a conscious,
I mean, if the plant is only grown for money or greed, then the proper spirit is not going into that medicine, right? So I think you guys have always been proponents of sun-grown, organic. This is so when you ingest that medicine, you're going to know that your body is going to respond to the proper spirit that was put into that medicine, as opposed to hey, let's just grow a whole bunch of weed, make a bunch of money, blah blah blah. And that's never been our thing, and not for you either. So that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's an amazing thing about cannabis. You already knew about that, but then you could see how cannabis wasn't meeting those requirements. But for most of us, it's been the other way around. Cannabis has taught us how to become more regenerative.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it led us to higher knowledge.
The plant is a
Yeah,
teacher.
yeah, and you start to learn, and you learn from the plant because you listen to the plant and you watch the plant. And you know, our next step is really to get more animals, but we use the animals up the hill. The guy up the hill has these alpacas, so we just bring down his alpaca from the top of the hill and so on. But we're
Well, because there is a challenge, you know, one thing as a farmer up here, you know, we're way up in the mountains, it's pretty remote. And even chickens, you know, if we're to get chickens, we have to basically build a cement house or something to keep the fox and the mountain lions and everything out, you know?
Yeah, no, but I understand the difficulty of keeping domestic animals basically in wild nature like that. And
Yeah.
it's funny, we have the same situation here in Tennessee as we did in Mendocino, where let's put a barnyard right up against the woods.
We got the holler behind
where
us.
there's like bobcats.
Holler.
And
Yeah, we got the holler down
we've
there.
got, what else have we got here?
Oh, we had a weasel in the camp.
And we had raccoons.
We're
The
like,
raccoons
what? I
are-
ain't never dealt with no weasel.
Raccoons will just kill a chicken for no reason. They don't even eat
Yeah.
it.
And of course, my redneck friends are all, I'm fixing my gun. You want me to take care of that? I'm like, no, you're fixing to not do that.
I mean,
Wow.
no, I understand how
So are-
difficult it is. I really get
So
it.
I wanted to ask, are you guys, you're making topicals now? Is that right? Didn't you
Yeah.
say something about that?
Yeah, I've been making topicals steady the whole time, and I've shared my medicine, and people love it. And we're definitely gearing up. We have a couple of little things on the horizon that I'm still formulating, but actually we're headed to Jamaica soon, and I'm thinking because the environment's so cold here that we might consider teaming up down there. So, and I'll just leave it at
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah, I would.
But you know, I hear there's a shortage of cannabis there. Didn't I
Oh,
hear
yeah.
there's a shortage of weed in Jamaica or something?
Yeah,
Why is
they
that?
They don't really know exactly. You know, I know that Nat went down there and set up something in the grill, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's definitely, and when we spoke with Junior the other day, he was telling me how he's always running to the dispensary down
And paying
there
far too much.
and paying far too much.
I
So
know,
we're
it
gonna
doesn't
talk
seem
about
right,
that.
does it? It doesn't seem right that Jamaica should have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So
It
I
really
don't know, we're gonna
doesn't.
help out with them.
But we're
in
talking
any
about
way.
getting a farm to table situation going down there, and maybe do the grow, which is Gary, GRW, grow one blood with Junior. Uh-oh, did we lose Nikki and Swami? Somebody else?
No,
had
they're
it.
right
no,
there.
we're here.
We just wanted to check out his shirt. But the
But
thing-
no, my
can I-
topic.
Yeah, I
Let me
wanna-
just talk about my topic.
Yeah, I wanted to say they're great.
They are great, and I've helped a lot of people. And one of my bestest friendships that came out of the topicals is in meeting Rita Marley, and she really like tracked me down to like become my friend and through the medicine. You know, she really appreciated the medicine that I was making and getting to her. And
Nice.
Yeah.
It's led to a lot of very good, interesting relationships, and
yeah.
taken us a lot of places. I mean, because of her medicine, I think is the reason that I personally as a musician have gotten involved. So, you know, so in the
Well, we
reggae
had the
world,
blessing through
yeah.
the reggae, the
Yeah,
topicals,
it's like
and all
that because
that.
her
You know?
topicals are so
Uh.
great that they
Right.
really.
Well, cannabis is a great connector, isn't it? I mean, look at us, all these people right here that we're connecting with that we
Yeah.
wouldn't know. You know,
Mhm.
she really brings us together in a great way. It's not all about murder, you know. Luckily, that's a very small percentage of it. But it's you know, we really do come together, and you know, we've
Yeah.
met so many people through cannabis. It's
I
the
want to say
best.
some more about the topicals too, because what things people don't realize out in the rest of the world is that up the mountains of Mendocino and Humboldt is where so many of the formulas for these topicals that are now people are using all over the United States have come from. And we refer to this as the hill witches, the women up in the mountains who are like taking a little St. John's wort and some comfrey and some borage or whatever, mixing something up in here and say, hey, try this, see if it works. Oh, that doesn't work right. And then you do it with coconut, or you do it with olive oil, you do it with beeswax, you do it with all these things. And hey, try this one. Hey, baby, that really works. That really works, right? And so that's the way it went on for years and years up here. And you know, really thousands of people, not just women, of course. There's some warlocks up here too who are making these formulas and so on. Yeah. And so I think it's wonderful to acknowledge that. And that's another thing we need to write a song about, Gary, about the hill witches and making the formulas and stirring that pot and all that sort of stuff.
Is always singing, always saying, I'm gonna go get witchy poo now, and she has her little like laboratory, you know, and it's all just intuition, you know, a lot of it, but what she's come up with,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's
It's
very cool.
definitely not like working for DuPont or anything, you know. It's very
But it's
spiritual.
also it's ancient wisdom also, because the alchemists and all the people from thousands of years ago, you know, were medical people, and they made their medicine out of herbs, and the main herb was always cannabis.
Cannabis
Yeah.
works.
When we first got here, I would tell people, and kind of to mess with them a little bit, because you know this is the Bible Belt country. No offense, or disrespect, but I was always like, I am a green witch, and they'd be like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "I'm a green witch." Well, what does that mean? I play with herbs and medicine, so
I should-
medicine that
I
heals.
should write a song, Green Witch. I'll
Yeah.
write it about Lisa.
Yeah. Just don't burn her at the stake, okay?
Jeez.
But it's also about using the herbs that grow in your immediate area. And up here, there's so many different herbs that you can grow. There's mushrooms that grow up in the mountains here. And same way, your guys are right in the mountains there too. So you take what's growing naturally in your area, but a lot of it grows, you know, there's comfrey, there's sassafras, there's all these different things that, you know, are herbs. And that's what, and you know what? They all have the terpenes too, right? We're so mad about terpenes and cannabis, but all these other herbs, they work with terpenes too. And so when you mix these terpenes together with the cannabinoids, a whole lot of magic happens.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, as they say down in Tennessee, I've been kind of laughing at this phrase because I've been hanging out with some real Southern girls lately, but I'm fixing to get my syrups on. I got a ton of elderberries propagating, and I'm fixing to put out my own syrups and immunity syrups and fire ciders. That's what
Right,
we're
but
going
it's all we're planning the garden to grow that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so we're planting
Okay.
orchards.
Yeah.
We're getting the
So we can do the
elderberries
ciders and
going,
stuff,
the
yeah.
proper herbs that, you know, St. John's wort, whatever it's growing out there, and that we're
Yeah.
gonna put it all together.
Lots of comfrey. I bought my California
The
comfrey from
California
Marlena
comfrey made it
River.
all the way here, and
Yeah.
it's just springing up everywhere. From
Wow.
a good friend who passed
Fantastic.
away.
I'm searching high and low if anybody has some clary sage, because we had tons of that on our old property in Mendo, and I can't
Yeah.
find seeds anywhere.
sage. I think we have some of that, Lisa. Come on out and visit us. We got some.
Clary sage, yeah.
Smells so good.
It smells
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
good.
well, but you're saying the moisture there is a problem. I heard about so many of the Tennessee farmers who were growing hemp lost their product to mold and mildew just because of the humidity and so on. It's like
Yeah,
one
last
of
year
the
was
blessings. Yeah, we have a blessing up here. The nights are so cold and dry up here in the summer, right? So what you need is you need to get the right cultivar that's, you know, timed to that particular climate. So, you know,
that's what I told the ag department. He was pretty impressed with my knowledge of just like talking like that and expressing that more research needs to be done to find strains and things that will resist molds, finish early, all kinds of things. There's because
Right.
it's a different growing season here, you know.
Right.
It's a different, or it's like everybody's going to be forced to do like massive greenhouses, which is not cool, you know, artificial
cool.
and all that. Can't do that,
Right.
you know.
Right,
So
right.
maybe, you know, Lisa, what about if you got some Hawaiian cultivars? You know, Dan up there from Hawaii might know about that. That you know, some of those Hawaiian
Well,
cultivars
but
that
then
are
you
good.
get into what you also
but they
have to
can
look
deal with
at
the
is
wet.
daylight hours, right? So
Yeah.
what's your maximum nighttime hours there? And then you want to get a cultivar that you know, it works in that. But also, you probably also want to feminize seeds too, ultimately, so you don't get cross contamination and your crop is almost entirely feminine, right? And then the other thing is the question you have to decide: are you going to grow hemp for fiber, or are you going to grow hemp for medicine, right? If you're growing hemp to make CBD, you're going to grow a plant that's pretty much like a regular cannabis plant, a pot plant, right? You want lots of tops and lots of flower. But if you're going to grow it for feed, you want thousands of plants that are all really tiny and thin, growing all next to each other, right? And so that's what you have to make the decision.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think for us at this point right here on the old homestead, we're keeping things pretty like on a smaller level because we're doing, oh, here comes Figaro. Sorry. Figaro.
Say hello, Figaro.
Say hi, Figaro.
Yeah.
He's our resident ragdoll kitty that I got from a Tennessee property where I rescued some horses and stuff. I was like, give me the cat too. I'll take the goat. Give me the goat. I'll take the cat. All right. I'll take that blind one over there too.
Do you have an orangutan?
Get out of here. But no, we're mostly just kind of messing with the hemp so I can keep my topicals things going, and then also for the bees.
Yeah.
Because we're on to other greener pastures at this point. Like Gary's doing his music thing. We're doing, you know, like I think I'm gonna get some event stuff going here on a smaller scale, you know. Like I said, we're doing some farm to table stuff this summer with these chefs, and then hosting music as well. And you know, and that's something that I'm going back around to from like the Zephyr, and then, you know, with the cup and everything. Like I still have that spirit of me that I like producing shows, and I like curating events, you know. And I think I have a good eye for things and a good ear. So ambiance.
That's a little history of cup. We should share that history with everyone about, you know, because it is Emerald Cup. We're in the middle of judging right now. And the Emerald Cup started in 2003, and it was Lisa's birthday that actually we said, let's have a harvest celebration in honor of Lisa's birthday. And, you know, why don't we just bring in a few strains, you know, bring in your best weed and we'll judge it. Let's just see what happens. And that's basically how the Emerald Cup started, right, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that was the latter part of the conversation. But after the Zephyr that I did up at Tim's place, I had a hanging during our harvest. I was sitting there with the boys, and I was like, why haven't you guys ever done like a Emerald Cup, like like an Amsterdam Cup, but call it the Emerald Cup? And I remember talking with Brian and them, and they're like, no, we got to do the toast and roast. And I was like, no, it should be called the Emerald Cup. We're in this Emerald Triangle. And the other thing, like back then, you have to understand, like Swan said, there weren't a lot of girls like me at all up there. And I brought a different kind of edge and spirit to that team of people and men and boys that I was working with that season. Okay. I just came off of like traveling the world, and I've always loved music, and sitting there with them and talking about the great cannabis that was being grown and all around us. I'm like, it's got to go with some good music up here, because it just seemed like there was some, you know, essence that needed to be brought out and shared with everybody. And everybody was scared. We were scared. Tim was scared about putting it out there because we just didn't know what the laws and his, you know, things that he had going on, whatever. It was just kind of a risky thing. And I remember bringing it to everybody and saying, and I remember getting shot down a few times, like, nah, it's never going to happen. Like, why not? Let's do it like a masquerade ball birthday party. Who cares? You know, and I think we had like 28 entries, and I got Ilea down in Willits to make the cups. And actually I had Gary band Hot Mute play the cup, and Eric McFadden, some friends of mine from the city. I brought up all these.
It wasn't just a competition. You also wanted the spirit of the music.
Yeah,
and
I wanted
everything.
to curate an event.
It was a celebration.
Yeah, and turn the mountain people, because Tim was always, you know, saying the mountain people aren't gonna like this. What are you talking about? What's this music? You know, and I'm just like, dude, you gotta have trust a little bit. So him and I, you know, we always go back and forth with our locking horns and things, but we're good at the end of the day. You know, it's like I got much love and respect, and Tim, I would never take any credit away from him. He took the cup and made it what it is now, you know, with Sam and Taylor and you guys and everybody on down the road. But for a historical lineage what do you want to call it? I guess type
Truth.
of truth. Thank you. I was the creatrix.
word.
I was the creatrix of it. I came up with the idea and I inspired everybody to take it on.
I'll
You know?
vouch for it. I know that.
Yeah. And then we stepped away because we had some issues like the next year. And also it was kind of a pain in the ass, like putting all that work together and like battling the, you know, the egos. And remember the shitty poo caught on fire. Remember the
Oh my God.
Oh,
the
yeah.
shitty poo
Oh,
caught.
they put candles in the porta potties, and the candle, like, that's not a good idea. I mean, it's a plastic porta potty. It's like half the wall just melted on this thing, you know?
It was
But
just
surreal.
it was the cherry on top of the poo platter for me that night, because I was like, man, I just can't win for losing around here, but all right, off you go.
But see, part of that came out of the fact also is that while we were all up at that place that Nikki tried to call paradise, right? But, you know, we had some trance parties up there and there were all these DJs hanging out and so on. And there was kind of an international scene up there. And I think that also helped Tim to realize, wow, there's a whole lot of music thing happening here. And then when you put the idea together, well, let's put it together and have a show and let's have a contest too, right? So we had some great parties up at that Paradise place. Let's face it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Memory of just laying on all those beautiful rugs and your Moroccan seats, and just it was beautiful, and the statues and the music, Ghazni playing and DJing. It was a beautiful place. Too bad it was haunted by, you know.
Yeah, it really was haunted. You're right about
it kind
that.
of had that Hell's Angels vibe from the previous inhabitants. It's true. Yes.
Things too that like taught me that lesson, and you guys as well. We all kind of scattered like, you know, chipmunks in the forest after that first season.
Yeah.
Trying to work
right
on the things. It was like, woo, I don't know if I want to be rubbing elbows with these guys so much.
But we came back, and then actually another wonderful thing, a story I'd love to share with everyone, is when Gary and Lisa got married. And that was one of the most beautiful weddings ever, around this lake up in the Mendocino Hills. It was just gorgeous. Swami performed their marriage, which was very special.
And I was dressed in white.
Yeah, the bride didn't mind. It was nice. Yeah, she let him do it. But it was really a very magic time.
Yeah,
I was a fiery
the lady in red. Yes.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
That's right.
And the thing I really want to quickly say is you two have been very instrumental at big key points in our lives together.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
you presided over our wedding, but also importantly as well is we'd been trying to have a child, you know, kid for years, and it wasn't really working out for us for one reason or the other. And it really happened for us when we went up to visit you, one of your parties.
The fairies party.
You had a
Remember, and I gave you that turtle bowl that guy carved out. And
there was a lot of kids there. I remember at a certain point, one of the children.
Well, that girl was banging the gong, doing the gong thing. And right at the end, this little kid walked up to me and said, "Mommy."
To her.
To me, put his hand on my shoulder, and like Kyle and Gary both looked at me like.
Kyle, my friend.
Yeah, like, well, that was
weird. It was very odd. You know, children are prone to do very like strange and interesting things a lot of times. And right after that, she got pregnant.
Well, I was pregnant then.
Yeah, but she didn't know it. But she didn't know
that
it.
was like the
that
was the birthing moment.
Yeah. And so that's two things and I want to thank you for.
Oh, that's so sweet. Little Lolo's now like what? She's like 7 or something?
Turning 6 tomorrow.
Well, she's 6 tomorrow, but we're
happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh,
we're celebrating gifts and things tonight.
But yeah, our wedding was really quite interesting. It was amazing stuff in it. She was dressed like a señorita. I was in a mariachi outfit. There were stormtroopers from Star Wars that walked me all the way up to the
pirates.
We had pirates crossing the pond. They brought Lisa across the pond on the pirate ship.
Tim gave me away.
Yeah, and it was kind of like I hate to say it, but cannabis royalty. Really, it was kind of like
felt like that.
coming to pay homage, homage to to this lady over here, really. And there was so many people there, and it was like a party that went on for 3 days.
Oh yeah.
And what's really funny about this wedding, and this is what I'll say, for years afterwards, when I'd be in some situation, at Mariposa Market or somewhere, I'd be talking to somebody and they'd say, "Man, I was at this party this one time. It was crazy," and they describe it, and I'd say, "That was my wedding." My wedding.
Yeah.
It was just like a
So, Gary,
legendary event.
This gets back to your music, Gary, about how, you're writing these songs, you've got the murder songs coming out and all of that. But, there's just been so many incredible times up here in these hills that, again, cannabis has brought us all together to create these events, these things that we've gone through together that are, it's sort of like we were all in college together growing up, and cannabis was our main teacher, our professor. And, we got away with a lot of stuff, and some of it was fun and some of it was hell. And I think we've all graduated pretty much to at least master degree now.
That's how I feel about it. I mean, it was my privilege to be a cannabis farmer for over a decade. I never quite mastered it, but the whole spirit of it, and it's provided so much for me and my family, and is, I think, a very noble profession. Extremely.
Yes, amen. Amen. I totally agree on that. So I just wondered, does anybody out there have any questions that they'd like to ask Gary and Lisa? Or maybe, Gary, you want to do another song or anything like that before we close up today? Does anyone have any questions?
What song would Lisa like to hear?
Well, which one's a good one to play acoustically right now without?
They're all,
Want to do Eel River Blues or something?
Yeah, I'll just do that. I'm gonna do a song called Eel River. It's a little blues number, and in the tradition of like Robert Johnson or something like that. Something you might hear in a scratchy old record, on a '78 record, and you put it on, and it's like, it's like that.
And where's the Eel River flow, Gary?
All right, blow, baby, blow.
No, where does it flow?
Where does it flow? Oh, it flows north.
Yes.
Headwater is, but
say it's the one of only two. I mean, like, I'm sure there's other rivers, but major rivers that flow north in the world. Obviously, the Nile being the other one, right?
Yeah.
So it has.
Doesn't
you know what?
the one in the south.
Well, no, there's the Rhine River also, but it's a very special river, and there are several branches that come in, and it flows through the mountains, and it's really sort of the heart and soul of our whole culture up here. Absolutely. And the Eel River is a protected waterway.
Absolutely, but of course, over the years, people damaged it because they would suck it out. They would suck all the water out of it to grow some crops, and that was one thing, but that was only one problem, but, Lisa and I love to go there and swim, and it's just a beautiful thing. And it's really like the life source.
It's a backyard respite.
Yeah. So this is, so I'm going to sing a little Eel River Blues for you.
Okay.
We also recorded a live streaming thing last night that maybe we can end on with that, but here you go.
Eel River Blues. She used to run so high, but every night the road would suck her dry. Eel River Blues. She used to be so wide. Beaches in the rapids like to bite. I saw her running out to sea through the mountains and the trees. The trimmer sunning on the beach, but now the sun is high. She's gonna die. 13 miles. Eel River Blues. She used to run so high, but every night the growers sucked her dry.
Oh, the bird likes it.
No, bravo.
You hear that?
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
Was that,
that was
clear?
great.
Bravo.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
very good. Very
just never
good. And I
knew
love
internet.
that Wilbur was playing along up there. I don't know if we couldn't hear him, but I could see him playing up there too.
Yeah. If you see Wilbur joins us from Maine. He's way up
Oh,
in the Maine, but he's been growing out in his backyard.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, here, shit. There's the kid. There's the child that you guys made.
I tried.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting a little funky.
Darn it. Are you guys there?
Okay.
Did we lose yet?
Yeah, we are. Well, I guess it's about time to sign off. Oh, there's Lolo.
Oh,
Hey, Lolo.
hello.
Mwah.
All right.
I heard like 5 times right now.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, look, the
Well,
dog.
it's been so great to connect with you guys, and keep up that music, Gary, because you're just telling the world our story, and I think that's fantastic because that's how we're going to be remembered. They'll be sitting around the campfires singing these songs forever. I love
It's
it.
the only way I can think of getting immortal. That I figured out. So maybe it'll
Yeah.
work. I don't know. But I just love
Exactly.
you guys so much.
Yes, thank you. We love you
We
guys.
love you too.
And we're gonna come
We
see you
love
soon.
you so much. Yeah, we miss you out here in California, and it's great to see all of you out here. Join us in a couple weeks. We're going to be having our guest, Mike Lewis. You guys might have known Mike.
Who's gonna be on?
He has a company, Mike Lewis. He has a company called Synergy that makes compost tea
What's up, man? How you
brewers.
doing?
But
Good.
the other amazing thing about Mike
Oh,
is he's a
Terrible.
he
Yeah, it's
he
okay.
fought
No.
he
It's
fought
okay.
stage 4 cancer using cannabis. He completely healed himself, and the doctors are still calling it a miracle. So I really want him to share his story with you all, to hear about that, the benefits of cannabis.
He
and-
was a judge with us at the Emerald Cup for a couple of years also. And, he really got us first, really set up in compost tea brewing. So he makes a special formula. We can talk about insect frass and fish hydrocylates.
So, we'll go from the murders to the saving of your life of cannabis. It does it all. It's full spectrum. And we just love seeing all of you as always. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Gary and Lisa.
Good night, everybody. Well, thank you. We love you all.
Thanks.
Love you all.
Okay, go get stoned there, Mike McCarty.
Bye, guys.